Hi, I'm Jefferson Drexler, and this is Parent Like You Mean It, a podcast where we talk about, well, parenting on purpose today with the goal of cutting down tomorrow's surprises to size. And today, we're going to talk about love and sports. Actually, we'll start with my love for sports. Anyone who has spent any time with me knows that I am a huge sports fan. I love watching sports, playing sports, talking about sports, reading about sports. I was so sports starved at the beginning of the pandemic that I was one of the very few people across the nation who turned into live cornhole simply because it was the only sporting event that was on. My addiction even sank to new depths when I was viewing collegiate spikeball and even competitive marbles. That was a thing for a day. Yes, I admit it. I may have a problem. But anyway, in years past, when the Olympics came around, no matter if it were the Summer or the Winter Olympics, the games rolled on my TVs 24/7. I'd drag my sons in to watch the opening ceremony, and we'd remain glued to the games for 2 weeks, all the way through to the extinguishing of the torch. But not this year. As of the taping of this episode, we're several days into the 2022 Winter Games, and I've hardly viewed a single race, snowboard run, or curl. And it's not just me. According to Variety magazine, NBC Sports says that 16 million viewers tuned in to watch the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics opening ceremony across multiple platforms on Friday. It was a new record low for the event since NBC started doing this in 1988. These numbers are down 43% compared to the Pyongyang Winter Olympics opening ceremony just 4 years ago. But why? Why aren't we watching? Why aren't we rooting? Why aren't we excited to wear our red, white, and blue and cheer on America's Olympians? Well, according to the Daily Wire's sports reporter Joe Morgan, 40% of people polled said they don't plan to watch the Olympics this year because they're opposed to China hosting the games. Now, for those of you who are unaware, many people are upset that the Chinese government is even allowed to be put on such a prestigious pedestal as the host country of the Winter Olympics in light of their genocide of the Uyghur people within their borders over the past 8 years. In addition to rounding up these Chinese Muslims into internment camps and subjecting them to forced labor, there have been countless reports of forced sterilization, forced abortions, and genocide throughout China's northwest region. Then there's China's forceful takeover of Hong Kong. For nearly a year and a half, Beijing has unleashed a stampede of actions to bring the once autonomous and thriving region into political lockstep with the Chinese Communist Party, arresting activists, seizing assets, firing government workers, detaining newspaper editors, rewriting local curriculums for school curriculums, and straight up disappearing people who dissent. In fact, China is so globally intimidating, even the likes of Nancy Pelosi seemed scared when she issued this warning to our Olympic athletes a couple of months ago. In December, she said, and I'm quoting, "You're there to compete. Do not risk incurring the anger of the Chinese government because they are ruthless. I know there's a temptation on the part of some to speak out while they're there. I respect that. But I also worry about what the Chinese government might do to their reputations and to their families." To their families. That's Nancy. And that doesn't even touch on the reported responsibilities that China shoulders for the global pandemic that we've been dealing with these past years that has crippled the economies and well-being of people all around the world. Why? Why is it that today, as was in the case of Japan last year, and South Korea, Brazil, Spain, Australia, and even Russia in past years, why is it that China is given this glorious platform as the world's Olympic host? It's hard to understand and even harder to stomach. And the viewing numbers prove that I'm not alone. But there's another side to this, another angle, another way to look at this. Why should our grievances against China stop us from rooting on Chloe Kim, Jamie Anderson, Brittany Bowe, John Schuster, the Hamilton siblings, or Shaun White, among scores of other American Olympic hopefuls who are enduring the headaches and the heartaches of competing without their families in the stands, and using burner phones instead of their own cell phones, while putting up with substandard living conditions and constantly looking over their shoulders, wondering what might come next. The athletes bear no fault at all regarding the Uyghurs or Hong Kong or leaking and lying about the pandemic. Shouldn't we be all the more enthusiastically watching the games and waving our American flags? Well, all this got me thinking about something that we've been discussing with some friends lately. A lesson that my father-in-law has been teaching for decades. How can we show kindness and even support for people who are involved in something that we abhor? Or cutting deeper, as my father-in-law puts it. How do we love the unlovely? I mean, no matter which side of the argument you're on, whether you support Biden or Trump, Fauci or Rand Paul, Whoopi or Gina Carano, Joe Rogan or the entire Woodstock concert lineup, the Las Vegas Raiders or everyone else. How can we express kindness, humility, patience, hope, and even trust in people who blatantly disagree with us on any number of hot topics? And isn't it true these days that pretty much every topic seems to be a hot topic? But how do we set an example for, and we teach our kids to love people whose beliefs, politics, or behaviors are not in alignment with our own? Well, it takes wisdom. I mean, we can't set a good example and teach our kids what is right and good if we just allow evil to go unrestrained, right? I mean, I wouldn't let my own kids, I should say, treat each other terribly. And I'd call out their friends for treating people terribly as well. So why wouldn't I also stand up, I should say, in protest of China? Really, or any other nonsensical oppressive regime for that matter. Well, I guess it boils down to practical wisdom. There's something I read last week. If you're really wise, you will live in a completely good way. That is the most important thing. Also, you'll live in a way that brings peace. You will be kind to other people so that they become your friends. You will listen to them and not argue. You'll forgive them and do many good things to help them. You'll not show favoritism. You won't be a hypocrite. Those who bring peace to other people help them to live together in peace. And as a result, people will then choose to do what is right and good. But how are we supposed to live life so graciously in the face of injustice or even tyranny? Especially when even the Bible tells us, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, ensure justice for those who are being crushed, and yes, speak up for the poor and helpless and see that they get justice. That's from Proverbs. I mean, what the heck? How are we supposed to be patient and nice and still provide justice for the oppressed? I mean, shoot, by today's standards, how are we even supposed to define who is truly oppressed? Well, here's today's lesson. And it's one that we need to model and teach our kids every day. And it's also from the Bible. In many ways, it kind of helps clarify all this. At least it does to me. So here's my paraphrase. And you're free to steal it, write it down, tape it to your mirror, magnet it to your fridge. It's yours. Here it goes. God, yes, God, He's shown you what is good and what He wants us to do. Okay, here they are. It's a simple list. 1, do what is right and what is just. 2, love mercy in all you do. 3, live humbly, not hypocritical or arrogantly. And 4, do all of this as if you were walking alongside God at all times. Because He's everywhere, so you literally are. It's easier said than done, I know. When you've got that person who just ticks you off nearly every single day, you don't want to deal with them in a way that would make God happy as He's standing there next to you. You want to pound the guy. You don't want to give China the opportunity to brag about how wonderful and well received their Olympic Games are as they continue to lie about the atrocities they continually commit. And this one is for the mini-me's living under my roof at home. You don't want your slob of a brother to keep messing up your room when you can easily just punch him and teach him a good old-fashioned lesson in cleanliness. I get it. But as parents, we are called to live differently. We are burdened with the responsibility to teach and set examples for our kids and their friends so that years from now, they will live rightly and at peace with themselves and hopefully with one another. So, will I go home and watch the Olympics tonight? Honestly, doubtful. Not because I abhor China. Well, because tonight's Taco Tuesday. And if you've ever had the chance to taste my wife's fish tacos and sit around the table hearing my kids' stories about their day, well, you'd put off watching the biathlon as well. But that's all we got this week. Thank you for watching. And be sure to check out more fun, fanfare, and common sense, if there still is such a thing, at ChristianPodcastCentral.com. I'm Jefferson Drexler, and this is Parent Like You Mean It.